Professor, thank you so much for joining us on
Oh,
Diplomatic
thanks for
Channel.
having me.
Well, you've been monitoring the Saudi Arabia-Iran row. What do you make of what's going on?
The fact is that, these are two nations that have been divided by religion for a very long time. And that in most of the conflict that surround the region, they've always taken opposing sides. This is not the first time. The only thing that this issue climaxed because of the hanging of, or the killing of a mullah, who is a militant one and always opposed to the leadership in Saudi Arabia. And that was why it's caused a problem to Shiite Iran. And, for the Saudis, that is the law of their country. And they have the right to execute somebody who has gone foul of the law. While to Iran, it is seen because he's a Shiite, religious leader. That's why he was killed.
One would think that, both Saudi Arabia and Iran will find a meeting point in all of this. The fact that it is a Muslim cleric, he's a sheikh, and, to Iran, he's well respected. But considering the history that Saudi Arabia and Iran have had, they've always had ups and downs, the fights over war, oil exports, and then Iran's government and so on. One would think that, they would find a meeting point on this. So why is Sheikh Nimr al-Nimr a problem for Saudi Arabia and a problem for Saudi Arabia's allies?
Saudi Arabia does not accept dissent in their country. He's a dissident leader. His utterances are totally against the leadership of the Saudi kingdom. And for them, it's a threat because there's also a minority Shiite community in Saudi Arabia. It could spearhead a sort of revolt against the leadership of Saudi Arabia. So they are not ready to contain and accept whatever is there for. So at once, he went foul of the law as far as they are concerned. He had to be executed. It is just shooting the messenger and allowing the message to be carried on by the other Shiite members of the Saudi community.
We're seeing different countries taking sides. Saudi Arabia's allies, all of them, protesting against Iran, even in their countries, Bahrain and Pakistan and so on, even though Pakistan is on shaky ground because it's trying not to take sides. But we have not heard the voice of the United States come to the defense of Saudi Arabia.
The United States, this is a different ballgame for the United States. In the past, it would have just stood shoulder to shoulder with Saudi Arabia. But these are different and changing times because of the rapprochement with Iran and the nuclear deal. America cannot see itself not to appear as an honest broker. If you are taking side with Saudi Arabia, then all the good ideas and then the acceptance of the nuclear proliferation treaties and all that will come to naught. So I think America is treading a very careful path in the sense that it will not like to offend Iran, neither will it go against Saudi Arabia. For what it is trying to do is to make sure that this crisis does not escalate to the point of war. And that it will use whatever good offices it has between these two countries to make sure that it does not go out of hand.
I want to pick up something that the Governing Islamic Council said. One of its representatives said Iran is always intervening in other countries' domestic situations, and which is what it claims this is what it has done with Saudi Arabia. So is Iran always intervening, and what should be done to stop Iran?
If you say that Saudis are also intervening in other areas, in the Iraqi crisis, they were against Saddam Hussein. In Yemen, they've taken a side. So also did Iran. So definitely these two countries, because of the type of religions, that is the main thing in their country, they're always taking opposing sides. And wherever there's a conflict that affects a particular country, they will take their sides and support those they believe that will really represent their views and all that in that country. So it's not only Iran, it's also Saudi Arabia. Its attitude in Yemen, the bombing of Yemen and all that, because of what it claims to be its national security. So also it's a threat to a particular form of religious uprising in that country. So you cannot totally say that it's only Iran. Iran interferes as much as possible. But I think the balance in the Middle East has been affected by the destruction of Iraq by the United States. Without firing a shot, Iran just emerged as the preeminent power in that area. Saudi Arabia cannot contain Iran. If you look at the power indices of these two countries, in spite of all the years of sanction by the United States and the UN, Iran has moved on regardless. And Saudi Arabia believe that even pumping of oil and all that is targeted at Iran, so that the price of oil will be so low that Iran will not make anything out of it, just like they did against Russia. So there's a lot of contestation between these two countries. And then this issue, Nimyari's execution has brought all these issues to the fore. But we also believe that because I think they will not go to war because of that, because there are higher things they are working towards. The crisis in the Middle East and how they are trying to deal with ISIS. So I think this will bring them together, and also there will be a limit. Even those who have supported Saudi Arabia, they are not crying for war, they are not fighting for war. They are going to give limited support because of Saudi Arabia's position in the Gulf Council.
Yeah, a lot of them are calling for peace. Just very quickly, you think that this could tip the balance because the Middle East is already engulfed in the crisis in Syria and ISIS, which has been threatening to take over Iraq and Syria. So do you think that the focus now changes to Iran? Will that be a major issue for the Middle East?
It will be a major issue in the fact that, they all look at ISIS as a threat, wherever it comes from. And even the United States, in spite of their opposition to the Syrian president, now they are finding a common ground. Regime change is no longer the option. The option is to deal with ISIS. They are now on the same page with Russia. So we should also look at the type of relationship that is developing towards ISIS. And I doubt that these people that have got the support of the United States, that they will not try as much as possible to rock the boat. They will make sure that they will come under one umbrella to deal with the ISIS crisis.
Now, we see China also intervening in this crisis because China says it was sending, the Chinese envoy actually made a trip to Iran to speak with the Iranian government concerning this. They are urging the government to take the path of peace. China has been vocal on the international scene, seems to be, taking on a more participatory position.
But also there's a limit to what China can do. China will not directly intervene in the crisis of other country. It will try as much as possible to use its good offices to make sure that, China is seen as a peace-loving country and peacemaker in a troubled region. So China could not even step up. It depends on the oil from the two countries. At once, 2016, at once Iran start to pump oil, China will be dependent on Iranian oil. So they'll have to be very careful also. It's a balancing act. We should not. No country will allow you to tilt towards the other side. They will all look for support and comfort in the hands of these strong powers.
So how do you see this going? How do you see this row ending?
I think it will end without firing shots, and I believe that the two sides will know that joy is better than war. They will not go into the war because of it.
I'd like us to talk a bit about North Korea now, because over the week it launched a hydrogen bomb, which is still being disputed. Experts are saying it didn't have the characteristics of a hydrogen bomb. So do you think that North Korea really launched a hydrogen bomb?
I think the jury is still out. It will be too early for us to decide if it was a hydrogen bomb or not, because the particles, the radioactive fallouts and all that you're going to gather is not going to be easy as of now because of the winter situation in that country. It will take some time for us to say that. But I believe that they have the various refinements and fabrications to explode a hydrogen bomb. I doubt if it could be made into a missile system to be delivered, that's a different thing. But exploding a peaceful hydrogen bomb, I doubt if that would be a very difficult task. They have the capacity. And being a closed kingdom, sometimes the development there you cannot monitor because these people will move in a subterranean faction, trying to acquire whatever they need to make sure that, they have to protect. These bombs are not, in most cases, to be used, but to act as a deterrent and also as a weapon of last resort. If there was any attempt by the United States and South Korea to attack North Korea, I think they'll use it in whatever means so that, they are not overrun.
So you're saying that North Korea is spoiling for war with all this acquisition of nuclear weapons?
Why don't you see it as a deterrent strategy? If we can display our forces to our enemies, they will know that we have the capacity to fight against them so that they will not make any attempt at doing anything against us.
But the question is, who's fighting with North Korea? Who is intending to go to war with North Korea?
North Korea itself fears itself and the in fact, it sees every nation as a threat to itself. So whatever it can do, sometimes they carry out these activities so that they could have a concession from the South. food supplies and all that from the West, oil from the West. They do that once in a while so that they could get some of the sort of support and help from these countries. It is not really that they wanted to create a situation of war where even they are not unable to feed their citizens. Sometimes they will use it on their neighbor, South Korea. Then you have the sunshine policies that have been advocated in the past by some of South Koreans' leaders, so that, they could pacify them, give them little things that they need, and then not to go to war with them.
You think this gives them a position in the arms race?
They've always claimed themselves as a nuclear power. Although if you look at the NPT treaty, that clearly states that any nation that has not exploded peaceful nuclear device by before 1972 can never be termed as a nuclear power. But they are still knocking on the door of the big communities to see that we are here and then we can be part of it. So it's not a recognized nuclear power, but I think it has the capabilities and the assets and platforms to deal with any country that tries to try to attack its sovereignty. We must also understand that in spite of all these arrangements and all that, the United States and the other powers are ready to discuss with North Korea.
Yeah,
But when it was Iran that claimed that they don't even have one, when Iraq claimed that they don't have anything about weapons of mass destruction and all that, they were attacked. So for the international community, we must also understand, if you have and you display it, you will not be attacked. There will be negotiation. If you don't have it and you talk about it, you'll be attacked.
Well, that brings a whole new dimension to the whole nuclear proliferation.
Yes.
But North Korea pulled out of that non-proliferation treaty in 2005, and tensions have been heightened between the North and the South. What does the rest of the world do with a country like North Korea, which is still acquiring nuclear weapons?
The fact is that it's not only North Korea that pulled out of it. There are countries that have never signed the NPT treaty. Israel did not sign. And also in the treaty, there's a provision that if you feel that your sovereignty is threatened and that you don't want to be part of the International Atomic Energy, you can withdraw. There's a provision for that. There's a provision for that in the treaty. So that they are getting out of the treaty doesn't mean anything. In the provision that in the treaty, there's a provision for that.
If I'm hearing you correctly, and very quickly, you're saying that North Korea cannot be touched.
We know, not that I'm saying, we all know that they can't be touched. the Chinese, the Americans, they will not do that because it's a rogue country. And then it could do whatever it likes. And if you threaten it that much and push it to the wall, there is no other to go than to go forward. So we have to be careful in treating it. We believe that the international community will have the safe pair of hands to deal with North Korea.
Professor Dokubo, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, nice for having me. Thank you.
This is how we end Diplomatic Channel this week, but keep the conversation going using any of our social media platforms. I am Amarachi Ubani. I'll see you next time.